This ambitious 96-minute supernatural comedy film was unfortunately a box office disappointment following its July 19, 2013 release, earning back only 60% of its $130 million budget. There's good reason for that. Audiences were not easily swayed by the familiar premise, which seems shamelessly borrowed from Men in Black, nor were they convinced by the likable cast, which stars Jeff Bridges and Ryan Reynolds in the lead roles. Reynolds is a recently deceased Boston cop who is recruited into the titular department of undead officers who track down ghosts and spirits who refuse to vacate the mortal realm on Earth. Although many of the jokes seem like they're pulled straight out of a cancelled sitcom, Jeff is able to save many scenes with his scenery-chewing persona and stupendous comedic timing. His inflections alone made me laugh out loud more than once, and he is a chief reason why this film actually works. As for Reynolds, he's convincing enough to get by, especially considering the majority of his on-screen counterparts are computer-generated. The incredibly versatile Kevin Bacon is the primary antagonist, while the always beautiful Mary Louise Parker is relegated to delivering nothing but exposition. Based on the comic book by Peter M. Lenkov of the same name, it's a decently fascinating premise that allows for plenty of ridiculous and outlandish sequences, like when Bridges and Reynolds tackle a slippery one-armed deado by jumping out of a 30-story building and resuming their arrest without a scratch, with the 19th century lawman remarking, "You might have noticed, we're pretty durable." These quirkier fantasy elements don't, however, mix well with the more serious and typical police investigation plot. Shot on location in Boston, home of the 2013 World Series champion Red Sox, this film adeptly utilizes many local areas, like a brief appearance by former Nickelodeon Guts host Mike O'Malley as a Fenway Park scorekeeper, an escalator ride through the Heinz Convention Center, to the docks of the Fort Point Channel. Curiously though, the lengthy climax plays out in the drab and featureless financial district. While most of the special effects in the PG-13 rated film are convincing and original, there's still a few shots that look like they were plastered on at the last minute. The score by Christopher Beck isn't anything special either, sounding more like a royalty-free track from YouTube's audio library than the proper backdrop to a major motion picture. I will say, however, the cinematography completely blew me away. Director Robert Schwentke is to be commended for such an inventive and unique visual style that incorporates fast and dynamic camera moves, like quick snap zooms and CGI-assisted follow dollies, without ever disorienting the viewer. Although silly, formulaic, and generally unbelievable, this is a surprisingly fun and entertaining film that is thankfully well-paced, and one I wouldn't mind watching again. Sure, the gags are weak, the characters poorly defined, and the story is forgettable as last week's cafeteria offerings, but I still felt R.I.P.D. was an exciting fantasy carried by Bridges. Let's read some of your reviews now from the YouTube comments. R.I.P.D. score on the Radiomatic, a 3 and a 6. Almost all of you criticized the film for its similarities to Men in Black, but did cite Bridges as the picture's lone redeeming quality. You still thought it was lame. In an extremely rare occurrence, I scored this film 3 points higher than you did. Sure, it had more flaws than a rusted-out Edsel, but honestly, I really enjoyed the whimsical, lighthearted approach to it all, especially Jeff's performance and the slick visuals. I thought it was good.